Business is a constant, it never stops. And as much as we want to, it's damn near impossible to turn things off, especially as visionaries. Our brains are always searching for and identifying opportunities. We're hardwired that way. The problem is we pack our plates so full that oftentimes the hardest thing about reaching that next level, whether that be expanding your thought leadership and finally writing your book or TED talk, or building out the systems that take you out of the marketing driver's seat, or simply building the framework that allows you to license your method to corporations, business owners, etc., is that you lack the bandwidth and space to bring them to life. But building wealth, the kind where you're not chasing dollars every day because your wealth is compounding and you're no longer tied to every penny that comes in, and having the business that feels spacious and expansive, opening up new doors for both you financially and in your ability to impact, allowing you to take control, you to lead the way, you become the master of your own reality. That is what we're after. And that is what this episode is all about. Now, hey, and welcome back to the Business Real Talk. I am so excited to be here with you today to chat all about what it actually means to focus on the right things to build a sustainable business and wealth that doesn't depend upon you. Now, before we dive in, I cannot wait to share this very exciting announcement that we recently upgraded our entire bingeable system that breaks down the EasyS method and how we leverage the Netflix effect to get leads to sell themselves. So, if you haven't already, or even if you've already checked out our mini series and you want to see some of the changes we've made behind the scenes to help you really take the EasyS method to a whole new level in your business, I want to invite you to head on over to easysleads.com to check out the new mini series that breaks down exactly how we developed and built this 3-step process that truly allows you to leverage the power of Netflix to build out a bingeable sales system that gets leads to sell themselves. Now, let's dive into this week's episode because it couldn't be more aligned with what we're talking about here today. I'm going to share a little bit more about this later on in the episode, but I'm really quick to share with people that we spent over 6 months this last iteration in upgrading the bingeable sales system. And there's a lot of reasons behind it. But for most people in the industry, that sounds crazy. And we're okay with that. And we'll explain to you what goes into that. But ultimately, I want you to understand that it took me decades to learn a truth that I'm about to share with you here today. The key to wealth and sustainability is going to come down to 3 factors. Now, in order for you to understand why these 3 things will determine your ability to create a business and a life that you actually enjoy, you need to understand why so many businesses struggle in the first place with achieving success that doesn't come at a cost. Now, the harsh reality is this: the US Bureau of Labor Statistics states that 21.7% of startup businesses are going to fail in their first year of operation. Now, by year 5, 50% of businesses fail. Now, the top reasons why businesses fail is where it gets really interesting. 82% of businesses experience cash flow problems, and 42% believe that there is no market or need for their product or service. Those numbers are staggering. And it's exactly why the 3 things that will directly affect your business and the ability to be able to generate wealth, not just revenue and sustainability, so that your business continues to thrive year after year, is this: it's the mental, physical, and monetary load. These 3 key factors will be what drives or sinks your business, yet they're largely unspoken truths. So let's get into it, starting with the mental load. Now, as business owners, we start with this belief that things will get more easeful, with dreams of sitting back and relaxing on the beach as sales comes in, with the idea that we won't always have to be on chasing the next big idea and things will start to run themselves, and thinking that eventually, with time, or when we reach some level of success, that we'll finally feel at ease and things will start to fall in place within our business. Now, as always, I'm going to keep it real for you. Business isn't this sit back and relax and reap the benefits of a lifestyle we expected. And newsflash, you don't reach some arbitrary goal and something just clicks and you stop being fully consumed by your business. The truth is, we set the tone for how easy or how hard our business is. I want to say that again because this one hits hard. We set the tone for how easy or how hard our business is. Trust me, I'll share my own personal journey with this exact concept in just a minute. And the truth is, it's hard as an entrepreneur to separate motivation and drive from this addiction to the hustle. And it makes sense. We spend so much of our time, effort, and energy to get this business off the ground. Heck, 21.7% of businesses don't make it past the first year. We understand it's going to require more of us, and we tell ourselves that it's necessary for business. It becomes ingrained in our beliefs. And oftentimes, it's the hardest part about changing that is actually unlearning that version of reality. Because guess what happens at 5 years? At 5 years, our body gets tired, our brain gets tired. We lose that ability to be able to keep up with that momentum and that grind of pushing so hard for so long. It's the reason you see people who are tapped out on outbound processes of having to DM hundreds of people a day because it worked in the short term, but they never were able to make that shift into a long term strategy. Now, I remember my client, Michelle, she had spent years building her business to 7 figures. She'd run master classes every month. She was hosting live events 2 times a week in her group. She was creating 10 to 15 pieces of content a week just to fill her platforms and stay top of mind. And she was filling her calendar with a flood of jam packed calls every single week. This had become her norm. So, of course, she brings me in to streamline her client acquisition and profitability. And as I always do, I shake shit up in the best way possible. But this shift comes with a healthy dose of fear. Not because they don't see the power behind the easiest method and the process that we built together. I want to be clear about that, but it's quite the opposite. Because the problem is when we've spent years, if not decades, being told or inheriting these beliefs that we have to do more to create more, it's a hard habit to break. So in month one, we built her innovative methodology and she was on top of the world. She felt like everything was going right. She was already reaping the rewards of talking to people within her master classes and on calls and watching their eyes pop out of their head, hearing about her method, jumping at the opportunity to work with her. Now, in month two, we began to shift her systems and move away from her always on marketing of having those master class months and lives twice a week and 3 pieces of content a day. And we narrowed it all down to just 4 pieces of content a week. That's it. The problem was she was panicking. She was telling herself and me that she trusted the process, but that there's no way that she would be able to get the same results. And she was right. Things did slow down a bit, but not in her revenue. She was taking less calls. She was spending less time creating, and she found herself falling back into this idea of old habits just out of fear. So she ran the masterclass and we went to work on building her bingeable sales system. So 4 months from the day that we started, we had now done a few things. We had built her innovative method and she was seeing a whole new level of clientele entering her world. Okay. And the bigger invitations to opportunities that she actually didn't realize were available to her. Things like getting on a paid stage in Paris. And we were helping her marketing, bringing in these better, more qualified leads. And she was officially creating inbound demand with just 4 pieces of content a week, which took a hot second for her to wrap her brain around. And finally, we launched her bingeable sales system. Guess what? It took 45 days for us to see real results from her bingeable system. And it took some tweaking, rewriting a few emails, changing the landing page. But in 4 months, she went from working 35 to 40-hour weeks, which included a packed calendar to master classes and so much content, to working 20 to 25 hours a week, adding 30K of revenue month after month just in the first 4 months. That meant she was now reaching 125K months. But for months, here's the kicker. Michelle would say to me, I feel like I should be doing more. It doesn't feel right that I have so much more space in my world. And sometimes that's the hardest part of growth. When we finally create space, but our brains, our bodies, and our nervous system are so addicted to the hustle that it just feels wrong. And so often, this leads to a boomerang where we end up falling back into those old patterns just simply out of fear of this new normal. This is why understanding and acknowledging and changing that mental load is the first step in truly building wealth, truly having a space that allows us to create sustainability, that allows us to create wealth. Now, on the other side of this mental load is when businesses feel like their brains are always searching. Okay. I know for myself, I spent years in constant thought, thinking about all the things that I didn't know, thinking about all the things that I felt like I needed to put my hands into in order to get to where I want. So often, this is what happens with business owners. Even when they turn off their business, they go on vacation, they hang out with their families in the afternoon, their brain is searching because they feel like they haven't nailed that missing piece. And that search process is often due to a lack of clarity, whether it's knowing what to do next that will drive results without wasting time, or how they should actually clearly communicate the gravity of their work. We keep this constant mental checklist of what we think it is, and it can feel like an endless search until we put our finger on it. It's as if our Google search bar is constantly running through different things. Is it this? Is it that? And we can't slow down. Now, the mental load of business will directly affect your business's ability to generate wealth and ultimately how sustainable your business will be. Because if you're constantly feeling the pressure, fear, and overwhelm of needing to keep up with the standard instead of creating your own, you are going to have a hard time moving to that next level because scaling requires you to create a level of mental stamina that is unmatched. You're playing in the big leagues and you can't afford to boomerang into old patterns that stall your growth. So, the question you need to start with is this: what mental load am I currently carrying around? Determining this will begin to give you insight into the first piece of the wealthy and sustainability puzzle. Next is physical load. Just like Michelle, I speak to countless business owners and CEOs every year who are on the verge of burnout. And the reality check I need you to hear is that we are seeing an astounding number of 7 and 8 figure businesses who had to take a step back. Because while generating that level of revenue was easy at first, it begins to eat away at your health and happiness. And many businesses and CEOs found themselves taking that step back and completely reinventing their businesses due to burnout. Heck, for them, the idea of burning it all down was often the best solution. And we saw it in many successful businesses where they were falling apart in the background, struggling to drive results for their clients and refunding entire programs because of the inability to deliver on the promise that they had made. Or businesses that had to completely outsource their marketing, creating huge overhead in their business, requiring them to stretch themselves so thin just to keep the lights on, or fighting tooth and nail to stay relevant in a market that requires an ever changing fight for attention. It became too much for many business owners. And so business owners tried to create more DIY courses and low ticket business models where there was little to no involvement from the business owner themselves, trying to take away the pressure for them to try and deliver on their big promises or trying to capture more and more attention in the market. Or business owners were seen moving back to ultra high ticket one on ones, often that allowed them to just take on a small handful of clients. The truth is, none of these are ideal, and they all stem from the same problem: the need for them to always be on. You become the content machine, you become the sales machine, you become the delivery machine, and that shit's exhausting. You're building a machine that's fueled by you, but you are not a machine. And as a visionary and transformational expert, your strengths don't win when you're being drained and depleted. Creativity, vision, and sustainability don't come from an empty cup. You need systems that damn near replace you so that if you take a week off, your clients are still succeeding. If you choose not to market for the entire summer, you'd still have clients signing on to work with you. The problem is, most businesses have a plate that is so full, they don't have the bandwidth to build those systems. And I'm going to give you a super unpopular opinion. It's a concept that I got laughed at for in 2021 when I brought it to a big name mastermind. It's this: slowing down to speed up. Because here's the cold, hard truth: you are not going to magically come across more time when you make more money. And you're not going to suddenly have the bandwidth to jump on growth systems that you know you need. And what most people want you to believe is that you're better off just creating short term assets. But here's the truth, okay? You're not going to wait for someday. We're not going to put things off and say, maybe next year, maybe someday I'll get to this. Because what happens 30 days from now when you're building all of these short term assets, spending all of your time, effort, and energy on the things that are only going to work for a short period of time? Because in 30 days from now, you're back at where you are right now, reinventing the wheel once more. Now, I've shared this truth proudly that since February, I have been rebuilding my bingeable sales system. It is currently August. That means for 6 months, I have poured my blood, my sweat, my tears into building my bingeable sales system. Why? because I wasn't building something that I knew would hold me over for a month or two. I built a system that I knew would carry me for decades. So, was 6 months a long time? Absolutely. Did it have to take that long? Probably not. Was it worth it for me? Hell yes. I was willing to slow things down to speed up. So often, when it comes to business growth and really seeing that level of growth, most people can't take that chance or are so fearful of taking that chance to slow down to speed things up. And when it comes to taking off the physical load that you're carrying right now and developing the systems that actually can replace you, you may find yourself needing to slow down to speed up. Now, in full transparency, my business didn't stop being profitable in those 6 months. I continued to sign clients, I continued to serve clients. Okay. The difference was I set my expectations and sights on rebuilding this long term sustainable and wealth building asset that will likely drive tens of millions of dollars in my business over the lifetime of my business. Not to mention the immeasurable success of having my bingeable sales system that I feel like fully encapsulate my innovative methodology in a way that I am so proud. And I'm going to take a minute here just to invite you again because I poured my blood, sweat, and tears for 6 months, and I want you to be able to see this huge asset that allows me to step away from my business. So I want to invite you to check out our new bingeable series on how we leverage the Netflix effect to get leads to sell themselves. So head on over to easyesleads.com to check this out and binge your way to success. All right. Now, we've already talked about the mental load. We talked about the physical load. Now it's time to talk about the monetary load. A shocking fact is that only 40% of businesses are profitable. That means that 30% are breaking even and the remaining 30% are losing money. So it's safe to say that the monetary load of running a business is heavy. And I already shared that 82% of businesses fail because of cash flow issues, all signs that point to the need to prioritize profitability. So, why are we seeing so many businesses struggle with this in the first place? There's two big reasons that I see. Number one is because of the growing expense of keeping up and trying to be the loudest person in the crowded online space. Number two is creating a business monster that constantly needs to be fed just to keep the lights on. That's large, bloated teams, high ad cost delivery that takes a toll on them. Now, the problem is both of these require developing and implementing a strategy, which you guessed it, requires you to put in the work. And at its core, the key to that highly profitable business is this: you need demand and you need systems, and that's what equals profit. So, demand is what allows you to avoid trying to be that loudest person in the room and allows you to decrease your marketing efforts with better results. It's the equivalent of having the cheat codes to more buyers. Now, we talked about this excessively, but our process for how we develop demand is actually by creating your innovative advantage so that you're no longer competing for space. You're no longer competing for attention, but instead you have people coming to you, acknowledging and knowing that you are the only solution. So that's our code to demand. Now, second is the systems, right? Systems are what actually allow you to replace you every step of the way. Now, most people skip systems and they go straight to outsourcing, which is where things get really expensive and messy. I'm not saying that you shouldn't build a team. I'm simply saying that building a team without a system in place is where businesses struggle. Let's look at it this way. Let's say tomorrow you want to have someone else come take over in distributing your content. So you hire a VA and a VA comes on and you're really excited about the opportunity, but you don't actually have a system in place. So you're handing it over to them, asking them not only to develop and come up with some sort of strategy behind this and create a system that's going to work. So in that time, now your sales are starting to tank. You're seeing less people coming into your pipeline because you don't actually have a system for that. This is where people get so frustrated and feel like they're chasing their teams, is because they don't actually have the system that allows their team to be successful. It's your job as the CEO to develop the team and give your team the things that are necessary in order for them to be successful. So it starts by you understanding that you need to develop systems that actually work before being able to replace yourself in the process. This is the power behind having a process that allows you to develop the wealth that grows on without you constantly being on, and allows you to have the space for a sustainable business that outlasts that 5-year mark of 50% of businesses failing. This is why we're so passionate about the EZS method. It wasn't born out of just a simple, what can I throw together? It was understanding and seeing thousands of businesses a year and understanding that the biggest things that were missing were these three key pieces. Number one is knowing how to win the market. rather than chasing attention, rather than trying to keep up with all the things that are happening in the world and failing at that, because we see so many businesses that fail because they aren't able to find a market that actually needs their products. We take a different approach. We understand that by developing your innovative advantage, we're able to cut through the noise, formulate your ability to be able to create a market of one where there is no competition. There is no you wondering if somebody needs this. You've developed something that specifically solves for a gap in the market that everybody needs. Now, what we do is we specifically support you in identifying those critical market gaps that your competitors can't fill so that you can create your own innovative methodology that articulates and amplifies your innovative advantage so you can take on your role as the known and recognized thought leader and have high intent clients coming to you because you become the in demand and unmatched solution. We then are able to demonstrate your innovative and disruptive point of view in a repeatable messaging system. This is your rise to the top as the industry innovator, and you're no longer in a space of trying to compete. You're no longer in a space of trying to always keep up with what's next. Now, once you've established yourself as the innovator, having your innovative advantage in hand, it's time to amplify that message to the world. So we do this through our bingeable sales system. This is where we develop the systems that replace you. So you're no longer needed as the sole source of your marketing and sales process because you've developed a system that does the selling for you. This means that you no longer have to be the person creating masterclasses or constantly going live or doing all of these things because while you sleep, you have a system that's getting your leads to sell themselves. Your future billion-dollar brand understands that you are not your sales system. Our bingeable sales system is what automates those conversions so leads can sell themselves using the Netflix effect. So say hello to financial freedom and free sold clients. Now, finally, it's about changing the world because the reality is you can do everything right in marketing and sales, but ultimately it's your business's ability to be able to have a world-class reputation that's going to stand the test of time. And we're all about sustainability. So it's about creating the successful infrastructures that ensure your clients are getting results at scale without burning you out. Because your clients should be able to be successful without you needing to hold their hand every single step of the way. This is the magic behind the pure profit strategies that allows you to turn your clients into raving fans who become your most enthusiastic sales team and stay with you for years to come. So if you're ready, you know I'm going to make that invitation to you. I want to invite you to book a growth optimization call directly with me. On this call, you and I are going to sit down. We're going to look at your acquisition system, and I'm going to show you exactly where I see the biggest opportunities for scale are and how and if the EasyS method can be applied within your business. So head on over to easyesleads.com/call to book your call today. But if you are new around here, first of all, welcome. Or if you just want to learn a little bit more about how the EasyS method works, I've said it already twice now, but this will be my third time. I want to invite you to check out our bingeable mini series that breaks down the 3 steps that gets your leads to sell themselves using the Netflix effect. Go ahead and check that out now at easyesleads.com. Now, before we head off, as always, I want to take a quick second to just tell you how much we appreciate having you here. And we'd love if you could take a quick second to head on over to your favorite podcast platform and leave a rating for this episode. This helps us intentionally support experts who are on a mission to change the world. But until next time, here's to keeping it real.